call this meeting of the Pittsburg City Commission to order. Will you please rise for our invocation night given by Gary Gugela of the Salvation Army.
Join you right here. You bow your heads with me, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to meet. We're asking your blessing today to guide the agenda, all the deliberations, the decisions. For we are grateful and ask your blessing upon it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving to public input. Is there anyone in the audience who would please come forward, state your name and address, and speak?
I have something.
All right.
Yeah, right there, Jeff.
Okay, my name's Jeff Murphy. I'm a county commissioner here in Crawford County. Wanted to come to you and discuss a little bit economic development effort that we're making here in Crawford County, a county-wide committee we're putting together. I actually have some information here. Could I pass that out to the council? Or? Okay. Okay, what the county is working on is a county-wide committee with 9 members on it. It would be a steering committee to work on economic development, attracting new businesses, developing entrepreneurs, and developing our existing businesses in the county. We're taking applications for that and receiving 3 different members, three members from each commissioner's district. So each county commissioner will select 3 people from their district to put on this to make a total of 9. The applications are due by March 1st. And I think from all the commissioners' perspective, we're really looking for people that see the effort as a county-wide effort, that recognize that what benefits Pittsburgh probably also benefits Girard, and what benefits Girard also benefits Pittsburgh or Arma or Frontenac or McCune or Walnut or Hepler or Arcadia or any of those. So we're really looking for that broad perspective, and we're also looking for broad representation on the committee. And where it leads, I don't know. I'm pretty interested in having someone that would be working on this either part-time or full-time for the county. A person that would be in charge of this effort. But really we're going to leave that up to the committee as to how they formulate the effort. So, are there any questions or thoughts from the...
Any particular timelines in terms of when the committee will start meeting? Anything that...
I would think, the commissioners will probably take, I'd say, a week after March 1st to maybe make our selections, and then I would expect the committee to meet within a week or 2 after that, and kind of leave it up to the committee as to how often they meet. Maybe a monthly meeting would be a guess, but again, leave it up to the committee as how they manage that.
What kind of interest have you generated so far with just what you've done?
As far as applicants for the committee, not as many as I'd like. It's been in the newspaper. It's on our website. It seems like if the commissioners directly talk to someone and ask them to be on it, we have a pretty good chance that they might be on it. But no one seems to be taking initiative from reading something in the newspaper to apply for it. That is for sure. So if you have good people in mind, let them know that we'd love to have them on this committee.
Are you taking a broad spectrum of the people that come in, I mean, business owners, educators, just whoever, whatever.
Yeah, and when I've talked to other counties that are working on these things, they recommend that. In fact, you don't really want your committee just loaded with one experience. You want that broad spectrum, like you suggest. Yes.
How's that committee going to work with Pittsburgh's Economic Development Director, Blake Benson? Will he be a member of the committee or advisor to the committee, or?
That's really yet to be determined. My hope is that we're working hand in hand with the city of Pittsburgh in everything we do in this effort. That's my hope.
I will say, Mr. Mayor, that we have been active in working with Commissioner Murphy to reach out to Pittsburgh residents that would be a good fit for this, people who have actually served on our EDAC before and cycled off. We reached out to 3 local residents, and I believe 2 of them are applying to serve on this. So we have been working with Commissioner Murphy to make sure that we have Pittsburgh people on there that have a background in economic development and kind of know our internal process.
How long will the members serve on this committee? Is there a time frame?
It hasn't been determined, and if I would hope that maybe where we're heading is to some kind of formalized economic development board, and they would create a set of bylaws that the commissioners would approve that would probably set that term. I would think that would be a good process to have in place.
So really what you're describing is a true steering committee. There's really nothing set in stone. There's no specific procedures or steps that you're thinking about taking. It's really just getting a group of people together to start talking about what the options are, how we would fund it, how it would work, how it would cooperate with local municipalities and local chambers, et cetera. You really have no set path. You're just wanting a group of people to get together and start talking about it.
All options are on the table. That's
Okay.
right.
Any further questions for Jeff? Thank you, Jeff, for coming forward and
Thank you.
letting us know what's going on.
For your work on this.
Yeah, thank you.
Jeff?
Are there anyone else that would like to come forward at this time and speak during the public input section of the meeting tonight? Seeing none, I'm closing the public input and moving on to consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed for discussion?
If there aren't any, I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Gray.
Aye.
Johnson. Ketterman. Munsell.
Aye.
Lemon. Aye.
Special presentation, area-wide brownfield planning, representing from Ellen Planning, Design, and Landscape Architecture, PLLC, will provide information regarding the upcoming area-wide brownfield planning project.
Mayor and Commissioners, last year the city received a grant from the Environmental Protection Agency for area-wide planning. Area-wide planning grants are really just economic development, redevelopment planning grants for brownfields. We have selected the area from 7th Street to Washington and from Rouse to Joplin as an area for planning around redevelopment. Obviously, some of that includes the Mission Clay properties and a bunch of other properties in that area as well. We went through a selection process to select a consultant to assist us with this grant. Elan consultants were selected. Elan has a lot of experience in this area. They've been working in programs like this for a number of years. They were responsible for the area-wide plan for Council Bluffs, which has a lot of similarity to their plan, and the area that they were working on has a lot of similarities to the plan for the area that we're looking at here in town. This is their first day. This is the first of actual work on the grant, and they've been doing a lot. They've been having a long day with us, driving around, looking at everything, talking to a lot of stakeholders. They have a plan for what this is going to. This is a long-term process. It's going to take well over a year to do all of the planning. There's a lot of stakeholders that we have to be in contact with. A lot of public participation that's required as part of this grant as well. The idea here at the end is to come up with a plan for redevelopment of that area that I just outlined, and wanted to give earlier today they were talking to the Rotary Group. They talked to the steering committee for the grant just before this meeting. So there's been a lot of work that they're doing today. They're going to be here till Thursday this week. I wanted to give them a chance to explain to you what the area-wide planning process is like, and what you can expect in terms of public participation and what you can expect at the end. Lisa Nagel from Milan can explain that.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, thank you for having us. Appreciate it. We're, as you can see, experienced a little technical difficulties, but we may have worked through it. So my name's Lisa Nagel, and I'm with Elan Planning and Design and Landscape Architecture. And we actually come, Rob Holzman and I, my colleague, come from Saratoga Springs, New York, which is about 3 hours north of New York City, directly straight up, about 3 hours south of Montreal, and about 3 hours west of Boston, right on in eastern New York. And I'm a community planner, as is Rob. My business partner is a landscape architect. And we do mostly municipal planning around the country. As Jay mentioned, we were just working up in Council Bluffs, Iowa, on a very similar project. In fact, they got an EPA area-wide planning grant, and it was also called the Mid-City Revitalization Project for them, the same exact terminology that you're using here. And in fact, in Council Bluffs, geographically, their study area was almost identical to yours. The only difference is in Council Bluffs, the downtown was on the east side versus the west side of the study area. Same rail lines, same access issues. So when the proposal came our way, I thought, wow, this is really neat. This is very similar to Council Bluffs. So we obviously submitted our qualifications. We did team with some local engineers that I'm sure you're familiar with, but PEC, and we have Bruce Rumsberg and Brian Coombs with us. We're also teamed with Triad Environmental Services to help provide some of the technical investigations that we need to undertake as part of this project. Let's see if this is going to work. So, okay, we might be okay here. So what I wanted to do is just briefly describe how our team works and how we come up for a plan for you. And as Jay said, public participation is a key piece of this. But before we get there, we have a plan that involves our shop, which is the planning, community planning, and design aspects of it. We have Dave Williams from the Williams Group, and his business partner is Susan Olivier, in the middle column doing the economic and real estate analysis, where we're actually, that's sort of one of the key pieces that we undertake, and that they'll study local, regional opportunities that could feasibly come to the city of Pittsburgh and locate within this area. So identifying actual real estate opportunities to invest in the city of Pittsburgh. So that's a really powerful outcome of this project. And then lastly, on our engineering side, we'll have the engineers help us understand infrastructure. You know, where we know that you have very good infrastructure around the site. Where does it come into the area? We know that we have, you're doing the fiber and telecommunications, which is a fantastic investment in the city. How does that integrate into it? On the environmental side, the key piece here is that we're not digging holes and trying to understand where the contamination is. We're simply looking at public records and public information and trying to characterize from existing public records what we're dealing with in this 350 acres. And that's a key difference there on this. So when we talk about this area-wide planning process, it was actually built off of a model that New York State's been doing, and the individual at the EPA who started the EPA area-wide planning process used to work in New York, and we had sort of a pre-planning program that we came up with called the Brownfield Opportunity Area Program. He then left New York and came to the EPA, liked that model so much that he actually took that model and created this area-wide planning program. And the sense is that, you know, before brownfield redevelopment, you would think about it as we have to go clean that site, you know, clean the gas station site or the dry cleaner site so that we can redevelop it. But then people started asking, well, what are you going to redevelop it for? And so this planning program sort of steps back and comes back a step and says, okay, let's think about in reality, what can we put on the property? So that it's planning dollars to try to identify realistic redevelopment opportunities based on sound information of the engineering or the environmental engineering. So it's a great program. At the end of the day, we talked about it at Rotary, cut to the chase since we're at the City Commission. At the end of the day, which will take about a year to prepare this plan, we'll come back to you and ask you to adopt the plan, endorse the plan. And what that will do is provide leverage for you in the city manager's office to seek grants to implement the many recommendations that will come out of this plan. EPA has actually effectively said that to you. We're happy to help with your brownfield remediation in the city of Pittsburgh, but now you need a plan, and we'll continue to help you as long as you have a plan. So this plan for this 350-acre is thinking about holistically what can happen. What are the connections to downtown? What are the connections to the university, the hospital area, other redevelopment projects that are happening? And then we'll think about how that whole area can be redeveloped and not just a single property. We obviously know we have a very large property on there in the Mission Clay property, but there are others as well. Public process is key. I'm going to come back to that. And what we have is a redevelopment plan. I think these images might be a little bit blurry, but this is another final product that you will see. This is actually from Council Bluffs, where we're actually guide the land uses within our study area. Even though this looks like it's Pittsburgh, it's actually Council Bluffs. And you know, the colors in this image indicate what we had recommended through a public input process, through our real estate and economic analysis, and through our engineering analysis, what could realistically happen in their mid-city area. So red indicates commercial, mixed use, yellow indicates residential, green is parkland. We have trail connections, sidewalk connections, so it's not just about remediating contaminated properties, but it's about revitalizing the whole area in many different ways. We actually can dive a little bit deeper, and these are images within that area. The center images is that color-coded images that you were just looking at. But we actually can use our landscape architects to articulate what can it look like once it's redeveloped. Where are the buildings? Where are the parking? Where does that park look like? Where does the streetscape look like? And so this is what you will be receiving through this process so that people can visualize really easily through images, because pictures are worth 1,000 words. What can this place look like? This is just another image that we've done just as a different example of a hand-drawn image of an area in Utica, New York, where we've been working for many years. This area had a lot of contamination in it, but we're able to work and plan around it because not every property is that contaminated. But we can look and say, okay, you know, how can we redevelop the areas that aren't as contaminated, that's more meaningful and brings tax revenue back to the community and enlivens the community. So that's the Council Bluffs study area, so you can see the similarities to this community. This is where we sort of bogged down last time. But I'll just keep talking, and hopefully this will catch up. Here we go. What we end up looking at are, there we go, excellent. We end up looking at are these four aspects, which I've already spoken about, and this is what our team looks like. But we look at the environmental, the physical, the economic, and the planning, and all of this goes into the what we call the area-wide plan. We're having some compatibility issues, but if you could turn your head sideways. The blue line is the study area, so that would be 7th down to Washington, Rouse over to Joplin. And we're just indicating here the rail lines, your major roads, the university lands, the downtown lands generally described. Because to us, it's not, we're not going to stop at that blue line. That's not a hard edge. There's so much opportunity for connectedness within this community to connect to a major university, to connect to a downtown that's starting to see some exciting happenings going on. The rail is a huge asset, potentially, as it comes through here. So we're starting to really think very, very broadly about this area and how, when it's developed, how it can be advantageous. So the last thing I really want to talk about is the public input. Since we have public here, we will be coming back and inviting Pittsburgh residents to participate in this project, providing their ideas. What would you like to see there? And I'll have to say, too, that another partner in this project is Pittsburgh State University. The communications department is going to help with this. They're going to be able to do a lot of public outreach for us and media outreach so we can really get the word out. So when we have these public meetings, people will come. We're also working with the biology department at Pittsburgh State University, and they're going to help understand some of the environmental conditions. And then we're also going to work with the Kels Business School, and they're going to help on the economic real estate side. And we're really excited about this because this helps build capacity back here at the city and continue that really strong relationship that you already have with the university. So we're working with them. What we're going to do on the public side is that we already have a steering committee, so we met earlier. We're going to do public meetings, special events. We're going to meet with individual people, as Jay described. We're going to set up a web address so people can get information, work with the local media. And these are just some images. When we do our project steering committee meetings, they're very interactive. We send homework out that they have to do to come back, and we make, moving the project along. We have these individual stakeholder meetings. We'd love to reach the youth of the community and the public. This picture on the left was a group of kids from Council Bluffs from the summer camp. And they were really great and instrumental. And in fact, the kid in the blue shirt actually provided the tagline for the Council Bluffs plan, which is a place where everybody wants to be. And he came up with it, and we thought, that's great. So we ran with it. This is a big piece. This is what we call Mid-City Renaissance Week, and we're looking to probably have this in mid-April, where we're going to have an open house, and we're going to invite people to come in on a Monday and provide input on a variety of topic areas, whether it's housing or industrial development or the rail or the park, and provide their ideas. And you can see the little Post-it notes in the small pictures on the right. That's all from the people that come in from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can come for 10 minutes. You can come for 2 hours, provide your input. We're going to then stay here, and we're going to summarize all this information, and we're going to come back to the public a couple days after we synthesize this information and say, okay, did we miss anything? Because we want to make sure that we're getting as much input as we can, because that helps create buy-in and community commitment towards this project. So lastly, this is sort of the best summary here. If the market analysis tells us what can go there, right? So what can possibly be here, given the rail, the access, location, and it's the public input with the technical information that it tells us where it can be and where we should put our efforts. So that's sort of the combination of the, I keep calling it a big pot of soup, of all the different pieces that go into this, to the soup, where we come up, and we'll have a very actionable, oriented plan we'll ask you to adopt so that you can continue to implement it through future grant dollars. And I'll get rid of that since it's sideways. Thank you. Any questions?
Really exciting. Thank you for leading us through a complicated process. While we have a lot of really smart folks in town, this is obviously a gateway to other funding sources that we've never accessed.
Right.
So thanks for guiding us through that.
Our pleasure.
Complicated process.
Yeah, we're very excited about the opportunities. We're very excited to meet all the folks in the city, and we do see a lot of opportunity. We're very optimistic about it.
When you guys do your analysis on what opportunities could likely be located in this type of area, you mentioned that earlier, that the
Yes.
real estate group will look at that.
Yes.
What's your experience in terms of those actually developing into actual opportunities that realize themselves? I mean, are the ideas very dreamy, or are they ideas that really can be realized and where you can actually see some of those take place?
I will say that we and my team is very realistic, that we're not, sometimes planning takes a long time because we might have to remediate a site before redevelopment can happen, and that's just, the reality of a situation. But the recommendations that you get, we're at a clean slate, could put it in there tomorrow, if we had somebody there. But we're very real when we have a whole host of recommendations. We'll rank them. We'll say, some of these you can implement tomorrow. Some of them might take 5 years or 10 years because of the complications of redeveloping site A, B, or C. We don't know enough yet to say that, but
Sure.
We will give you a roadmap that will that you and your city staff will be able to follow to implement and access those grant dollars with very realistic recommendations.
Yeah, and I think that's the key for me, is seeing something that's realistic and specific, because a lot of times we'll do vision, committees and things, and a lot of times it's very high level. Well, we need to work on housing. Well, that's great, but let's dig down into the weeds and figure out what that is. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the opportunities specifically in the details of what you think is material.
Right.
What could actually happen, not
Right.
just.
We will get into the weeds somewhat with this project, as much as we're still sort of looking at the whole area.
Sure.
And we will look at sort of catalytic sites within that area and say, look, if you were to redevelop this and focus your attention here, that will spill over to the surrounding areas and be helpful. So it'll be focused guidance on the redevelopment of that 350 acres.
You mentioned a rough timeline of about a year or so for the whole thing. What will that process kind of look like then?
Right, so Rob described this really well earlier with the steering committee. There's about 4 sort of chunks of time. The first quarter of it, if you will, we're going to go back and we're going to start what we call collecting our information, doing our inventory, understanding better, doing some mapping. We'll then come back to the committee. We'll have the open house with the community. After that, we'll work with our committee to develop sort of the ideas and draft form and a vision for the future of the redevelopment with that. We'll continue to refine that then in the fall. And in that time frame, when the committee is comfortable with it in the fall, we'll do another open house. Only this time, we'll have the recommendations around the room so people can say, you know, thumbs up, thumbs down, or it's okay or not, or you missed this. I mean, that's the big thing. We don't want to miss anything. And then lastly, the last piece, we'll be finalizing the plan and coming back to you probably in about a year's, maybe or February, maybe March of 2017 to ask for your adoption. Does that help?
Absolutely, yes, thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about who's on the steering committee, just so the community actually knows that it's not 12 people from New York?
Well, since I just met them.
But I know you're not going to be, so I'm looking at
Help
Jay.
me.
'Cause I think, not that there's anything wrong with people from New York, but
Well, Lisa and the folks at Atlanta gave me some guidance about who they wanted on the steering committee. We needed some, a property owner there. We needed some city staff there and some background. We have Dr. Bailey is going to be on the steering committee. I'll be on it, of course, as well. We're going to have Troy on it as well. We have Blake Benson's going to be on the steering committee, and then right now at this point we have from the area we have John. I forgot what John's last name is. He's the manager of the MPCU, the polyurethane business that's out there on 4th Street, and we're still looking for a resident and actually someone who lives in the area, right, to participate. And we'll probably have a couple more property owners on there as well. So those are going to be those will be the people on the steering committee.
and the last thing, Jay, how much was the grant?
Oh, the grant was $196,400.
So everybody listening at home, I think y'all approved an application for a grant a long time ago. Or maybe they don't put it all together. This isn't property tax. This isn't sales tax. This is the city staff writing a grant well enough to get $200,000 so we could have experts come in, because we could do some of this ourselves, but I mean, we'd be inventing the wheel at that point. And it's all outside. It's going to be a year, and it's going to allow us to then go after more money through grants. All of that, hopefully helping Mission Clay and everybody else that's a stakeholder keep the cost down to the local folks, and come up with a great plan so we can move forward and leverage federal money to do something positive with it. And it's very exciting.
And on top of that, of course, the benefit of gaining the knowledge and experience locally to be able to potentially do this again in the future much more effectively without such a steep learning curve. A lot of the people involved in this are learning quite a bit as they go through it, but we'll have some expertise through the university and through other people in our community to go through this again in the future.
That's partially why it takes so long, is that we are sort of teaching as we're going as well. We're guiding and we're developing and we're thinking and we're visioning and we're learning, and but we are working, with Pittsburg State University, the staff, and the community to learn and to really get a sense for what this is, and it takes about a year. If you were to rush it, you would just be cheating yourselves. So it takes time to build capacity and knowledge so that you have that, so you can continue on.
Just one quick recommendation on the steering committee. You might try to get a few more people involved than what you've mentioned, other than city staff, so that there's not a concept of, well, it's just city staff on a steering committee. Just make sure you get as many people as you can with it still functioning properly. I mean, too many people becomes more than a steering committee and it doesn't really function properly, but so that the community really feels like they've got some say-so on the steering committee instead of just the public input sessions.
Right.
Just one recommendation.
No, it's a good idea. And that's certainly the intention. This is evolving a little bit as we're working through it. So,
questions? Thanks.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Very much.
We'll see you again.
Welcome to Pittsburgh.
Thanks.
Are there any non-agenda reports and requests?
I didn't go to staff meeting today. Did we come up with anything? Nope, we're good to go.
All right. Seeing none, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.